My first camera was a Polaroid, and it's like a Polaroid session, and it was my great-grandma Green's. I was 10 years old when it was gifted to me after her funeral, and from that moment on, I just knew that I was in love with this little gadget. I didn't know what it was really doing. I didn't understand how it just printed it instantaneously, but I thought it was nifty. I started telling people that I was a photographer when I was about 10 years old and I got that Polaroid camera, but I started taking photography seriously probably around the time I was in high school. I was learning different digital cameras, I had been gifted different film cameras, and I was just trying to figure out what it all meant to me. I really like to say that I'm a travel photographer, but also a lifestyle photojournalist. My mission is to be a visual storyteller. I want each image and series of images to tell their own story, whether that pertains to a person or a city or some kind of travel blog, vlog, what have you. I just want to tell a story. It's hard to say. I kind of consider myself a professional photographer just because I'm confident in what I do, I'm capable of charging people. However, I think there's always more to learn, and I think that there's plenty to identify in that I'm still amateur in a lot of ways, so yes and no. I took a photography class back in high school. It benefited me more in that I kind of learned the history of photography. We would talk about Ansel Adams and Brownie cameras, where the history of cameras came from, but I wouldn't say it really changed the work that I was doing at the time. I'm obsessed with my 35mm on my film cameras. I am known to never change those lenses. Or I guess it's a 50mm.
Oh,
It's the same.
they're pretty close. Yeah.
They're like the same on those cameras. I always forget which one's which, but I mean they're 35mm film cameras, but it's like usually a 50mm that's on the
50,
lens.
yeah, that's a
Yeah.
50-50 thing, yeah.
So I guess the 50mm that comes on the 35mm film camera is what I go with. It's rare that I change it. I do. My favorite photo that I've taken was a composition from when I was visiting Naples, Italy. It has, it's a colorful image of a street that we were walking past, and it's a sidewalk with a cute little rocking horse, and there's clotheslines, and it just really, it told its own story of what it meant to be a true Italian living in Naples. Recently, Lena Schneiner, I'm probably butchering her last name, she has an entire series of images that follows her experiences with a couple and their sexuality and how they interact with each other in very intimate spaces. And that's been something I've come to appreciate as a photographer who was always kind of afraid of getting into more intimate subjects and focusing on very personal stories versus what maybe could be seen by anybody. I want to say that it's my curiosity that inspires me to create. I have this sense of voyeurism, I suppose, where I really want to see the ways in which each of us are living and the way we all interact with each other in the world, and I want to follow that, and I want to speak. I guess I want to provide a voice to those stories that are in everyday life, whether they're big or small, I don't know. I want to tell stories. I actually don't carry a camera bag. I like to keep my camera strapped over my shoulder. It's pretty rare that I bring extra stuff on me just because I like to be quick with what I'm doing. I don't like to spend too much time worrying about the amount of gear I have on me. I want to focus on the images that I'm looking for and the compositions. I do take selfies. I think they're amusing. I think it's even more fun to know that I know how to take my own images because I know my angles. I think selfies have negative connotations to them in the sense that people use them as an opportunity to show face in places that maybe they don't belong, such as protests or in front of, I guess you could look at it as tourism. You know, they're trying to say something that they're there versus actually taking in the beauty of what's in front of them or the moment that's in front of them. I think it has its benefits in that it allows anybody to be, in a sense, a journalist. However, it doesn't always keep checks on the ethics and morals of each standard that a normal journalism student, professional has to follow. And a lot of social media provides a voice to people who need one. You know, you finally get to see images and videos and pieces of stories that you would never get before that. And that was a huge benefit. As long as people are being cautious of where it's coming from, they know how to fact check, they know how to not believe every bit of either misinformation, disinformation, or propaganda. You just have to know what you're doing. I chose photography because I was terrible at drawing and I was terrible at creating things with my hands. I always had a sense of wanting to create but never actually being able to do it with my hands. I could never sit there and have a painting in mind and then complete it. Part of that's probably my impatience. But photography was a chance to see the compositions, to see the stories, and to capture what my eyes were seeing. I was able to see in my mind's eye and then go for it. I didn't have to think twice about it.
I could totally relate to that.
I do have a favorite Polaroid. It's the SX70. It has created some of my favorite images since quarantine. I started collecting images around downtown Reno in certain spots, and I wanted to create a gallery of images that reflected what had changed since quarantine began. Other than that, one of my favorite cameras is my Canon AE1. It was a gift from my grandma after she found out that I was getting interested in photography, and it's the only camera that I have really learned my passion for photography and the benefits that it can have. When I was younger and first getting started, I had a total obsession with Annie Leibovitz and her Rolling Stones era especially. She was working with a lot of bands and artisans and all sorts of headlining people, and she was having such intimate and personal relationships with each of them, which I had not seen in images before, you know, and it was a passionate experience to see her she had the ability to see the rawness in a person, and they were able to give that to her, and I just always thought that was beautiful. I love the truth. I love to see things for what they are, and I don't really like to manipulate that past. So Annie Leibovitz was one of my first inspirations. I shoot film photography because I felt that it provided me a lot more of an authentic relationship with photography. I wanted to go back to the roots of why I was even working with like a Canon 6D, and the moment I started using my first film camera, which was my Canon AE1, I knew that it was giving me the opportunity to capture what I was going for. The look in itself, the aesthetic of it obviously is there. Everyone loves some grain nowadays. But when you have such a limit to the amount of images you can take on a roll, it really asks you to sit down, and maybe not sit down, but really take the time to think about what you're doing and really think about what you're going after. If it's a theme, if it's a story, what have you, it really asks you to appreciate each image. And I think that's why I love film photography so much. I have a couple different film stocks that I've been committing to lately, which was the Fuji 400, just because I always felt that in the daylight Fuji in itself has more blue hues, and I felt that it really added the compositions that I was looking for. And the other one that I play around with a lot is is Ektar 100. I use that in my where's my camera? I'm forgetting what my camera's called.
Canon?
Mm-mm. It's a Nikon actually. It's like a 36 XL or something. It's a zoom.
Oh, is it like a 35 AF or something, or like a little one touch?
Yeah, it's my flash one that I use. You don't have to really play with the settings at all.
Point and shoot. So it's a Nikon
Essentially,
point and shoot.
yeah,
for sure.
point and shoot. Okay.
Cool. So Ektar and Fuji 400.
Yeah, those are probably my two, Ektar 100 and Fuji 400. And then for my Yashica 124 Portra 120, beautiful film. Portra is really, really cool.
Great.
I wish I developed my own film. It's been quite shameful that I haven't had the opportunity to learn. However, that's something I really want to look into because I would rather be doing it all for myself. But I'm a lot more of a hands-on learner. I do not want to go onto YouTube. I don't like YouTube that much, I'll admit it. I think if I take myself back to when I was first starting into photography, my biggest piece of advice for myself and anyone else starting out is just reach out to the people you're inspired by. Try to open up those conversations and get people to know that you're interested, because once you're out there and you're communicating with the people you're inspired by, they have the opportunity to give you those advice that you might be specifically looking for if, say, you want to create art like them, if you want to travel the way they do. And I think the biggest thing in photography is making connections. It's your ability to be around people, it's your ability to capture people and respect people and understand people. And that's probably one of my biggest pieces of advice.
You're doing great. Are you happy with that answer, or do you want to re-answer it?
The same one, or go back to the other one that I skipped?
Either one. We
I'm
still
not
need.
f***ing up. I answer this question literally all the time. People are like, why do you shoot film
I
photography?
think we got a pretty good one there.
You did?
We'll go back to it.
Okay.
If you need to, we can listen to it, and if you want to re-answer it.
I trust you guys to like edit and slice it.
Yeah. We'll take out the part.
No, include that. That's part of me.
Yeah. We might have like an Easter egg at the end.